You feel it before you can name it. Something has shifted. People who used to talk over you now pause when you speak. The ones who ignored you are watching, and a few who smiled at you have started to keep their distance. You think you're imagining it. You're not. Power rarely announces itself with noise. It arrives quietly in the way others begin to adjust themselves around you. Most people miss the signs completely. They wait for a title, a salary, a moment of applause, and they overlook the real evidence that they have started to become dangerous. Tonight, you learn to read that evidence, because the first sign is already happening to you, and most people mistake it for a problem. The first sign is simple. You stop needing to fill the room. There was a time when silence felt like a threat, a pause in conversation, and you rushed to explain yourself, to soften, to reassure. You mistook talking for control. Then something changed. Now you can sit inside a silence and let it work. This is where Niccolo Machiavelli becomes your teacher. 5 centuries ago, exiled from Florence and stripped of his position, Machiavelli wrote The Prince, a cold, exact study of how power actually operates, not how we wish it did. He was not interested in comfort. He was interested in what he called the effectual truth of things, reality as it works, not as it pretends to. And the effectual truth is this: the person who speaks least often controls the exchange. Picture a negotiation, a salary review. The manager slides a number across the table and then waits. Most people crack. They justify, they concede, they talk their own position down out of pure discomfort. The common mistake is treating silence as emptiness that must be filled. The powerful treat it as pressure that works for them. Here is your action. The next time someone makes an offer or a demand, say nothing for a full 4 seconds. Count them. Let the other person feel the weight of the pause. Watch how often they move first. If silence has stopped frightening you, something in you has already changed. But that is only the first layer. The second sign cuts deeper. You notice you've stopped defending decisions that don't require a defense. There was a version of you that needed everyone to understand. You over-explained. You apologized for choices that harmed no one. You handed people a jury seat over your own life. Now you simply decide and let the decision stand. Machiavelli understood that a leader who constantly justifies himself teaches others that his choices are open for negotiation. In The Prince, he observed that people judge far more by appearance and by outcome than by the reasoning behind an act. Explanation rarely convinces your critics. It only reveals your anxiety. Consider a toxic friendship. You finally step back from someone who drains you, and they demand a full accounting. Why? What did I do? Explain it to me. Each answer you give becomes new material for the argument. The mistake is believing that if you explain well enough, hostile people will finally agree. They will not. Their goal is not understanding. It is leverage. Your action is a single sentence. When pressed to justify a private decision, say, "I've made my choice and I'm comfortable with it." Then stop. No paragraph follows. Write "I control my response" in the comments if that line is one you needed. And if these signs are landing, subscribe to Power and Strategy, where timeless lessons about power, psychology, and human behavior become practical systems for modern life. This is only the second sign of 7. Here is a sign that feels like an attack, but is actually a promotion. People start testing you. Small provocations, a cutting remark disguised as a joke, a colleague who probes to see if you'll flinch, a relative who pushes to find where your limits are. You wonder why the friction increased just as you got stronger. The answer is strategic. In The Prince, Machiavelli wrote about how rulers were constantly probed by rivals, and subjects measuring their strength because weakness invites aggression, and no one tests a person they believe is powerless. They test what they're unsure of. The provocation is a measurement. Imagine a new manager arrives at a company. Within weeks, certain employees push deadlines, question authority, float small rebellions not out of malice, but to learn the shape of the new power. Whoever holds firm without exploding sets the terms. The mistake is taking the bait, reacting with anger, which tells them exactly where your controls are. The response is stillness with clarity. When provoked, ask one calm question: what are you actually trying to say? It strips the joke of its cover and forces the tester into the open, without you losing a degree of composure. Machiavelli understood that being tested is not the problem. Failing the test is. But the next sign is where most people surrender the ground they've gained. The fourth sign arrives like a strange kind of quiet. You stop needing to be liked by everyone. Once, disapproval felt like danger. A cold look, a withdrawn invitation, and you'd contort yourself to win the person back. You confused being liked with being safe. Now you understand they are not the same thing. This is one of the most misused ideas in all of Machiavelli, so hear it precisely. In The Prince, he asked whether it is better to be loved or feared, and concluded that while both are ideal, the two are hard to hold together, and if forced to choose, a leader is safer being respected than merely adored, because affection given freely can be withdrawn freely. But, and this is critical, he warned above all against being hated. The goal is not cruelty. The goal is not depending on applause that others can revoke the moment it costs them something. Picture someone rebuilding after a public failure, a business that collapsed, a reputation bruised. The temptation is to win back every doubter, but the person who recovers fastest stops campaigning for universal approval and focuses on the few whose respect is earned and real. The mistake is treating every person's opinion as equally weighted. The action is a list. Name the 5 people whose respect you actually value. When a decision looms, their judgment counts. The noise of everyone else moves to the background. Drop "build my own power" below, as if you've stopped auditioning for people who are never going to clap. If this is sharpening how you see yourself, subscribe to Power and Strategy and keep building with us. The 5th sign separates the strategic from the reactive. You start thinking before you feel. Something happens, an insult, a setback, a betrayal, and where you once erupted. Now a colder question rises first. What is actually happening here? And what serves me? Machiavelli praised the quality he called vert, not virtue, in the moral sense, but capability, judgment, the skill to read a situation and act with control rather than impulse. He paired it against fortune, the chaos of circumstance. The person of vert does not pray for calm seas. He prepares the ship. Consider a betrayal at work. A colleague takes credit for your project in front of leadership. The reactive person confronts them in fury and looks unstable. The strategic person documents the truth, quietly builds the record, and lets the facts surface at the moment of maximum weight. The mistake is spending your strongest emotion at the weakest moment. Your action is a pause you build into every provocation. Ask, is this a reaction or a strategy? Feel the emotion fully, then choose the move separately from the mood. This is where discipline becomes power. And the next sign is where that power becomes visible to everyone but you. The 6th sign is one you'll notice in other people's faces before you notice it in yourself. Your presence begins to carry weight you didn't consciously add. You walk into a meeting and the temperature shifts. People straighten. Someone who was loud goes quiet. You said nothing, and yet the room reorganized around you. Machiavelli understood that reputation is a force of its own. In his study of power, he showed that a leader's perceived strength often does more work than any single action, that how you are read shapes how others move before you lift a finger. Reputation arrives in the room before you do and stays after you leave. Think of a negotiation with an unreliable client who has bulldozed others. But they've heard you don't bluff, You don't chase, and you walk away when terms are bad. Before a word is spoken, their strategy has already narrowed because your reputation set the terms. The mistake is thinking reputation is built in big dramatic moments. It is built in small consistencies. Doing what you said. Staying calm when others panic. Being predictable in your integrity and unpredictable in your responses. Your action. Choose one standard you will never break in public, one promise-keeping, one refusal to gossip, one steadiness under pressure, and hold it with such consistency that it becomes what people expect of you. Write "I see the game" in the comments if you feel your presence starting to change, and if you want more of this, subscribe to Power and Strategy, where the mechanics of influence and self-command become tools you can actually use. The seventh sign is the one that lasts. You stop depending on borrowed strength. You build your own. This is Machiavelli's deepest warning, and almost no one applies it to their own life. In The Prince, he condemned reliance on mercenaries and auxiliary forces, soldiers borrowed from others, because power that rests on someone else's strength collapses the moment that someone changes his mind. A ruler defended by borrowed troops is never truly secure. Translate that to modern life, and it is devastating. A career that depends entirely on one boss's favor is a mercenary army. Income from a single fragile source is a mercenary army. Confidence that lives entirely inside another person's approval is a mercenary army. All of it can be withdrawn without your permission. Consider financial dependency inside a relationship or a job. The person who cannot afford to walk away cannot truly negotiate anything. Every boundary they set is a bluff, and eventually it gets cold. The mistake is building a life on foundations you do not own. Your action is deliberate. Name one dependency, one income stream, one skill gap, one relationship you're afraid to lose, and begin this week building your own version of that strength. The second source. A learned skill. An emotional center that does not require another person's vote, because the moment you can walk away, you rarely have to. Right trust must be earned below. So look at yourself now. Silence no longer frightens you. You've stopped explaining what needs no defense. You've learned that being tested means being taken seriously. You've stopped begging for approval you don't respect. You think in moves instead of moods. Your presence does work your words used to beg for, and you are building strength that no one can revoke. None of this makes you cruel. Machiavelli was never a manual for cruelty. He warned again and again that the leader who becomes hated destroys himself. This is not about harming others. It is about becoming impossible to easily control. See clearly. Speak carefully. Stay calm when they test you. Value the few. Ignore the noise. Choose the move, not the mood. Guard your reputation like territory, and build a foundation that is yours alone. That is the transformation. From reactive to strategic, from dependent to sovereign, from easily read to difficult to deceive. Here is your immediate action tonight, before you sleep. Take the 7 signs. Mark honestly which ones are already true and which one is your weakest. Then choose that weakest one and take a single concrete step toward it this week. Power is not a moment. It is an accumulation. If this reached something in you, share it with one person who is quietly becoming stronger and doesn't yet see it. Subscribe to Power and Strategy, where timeless lessons about power, psychology, strategy, and human behavior become practical systems for modern life. Then tell me in the comments, which of the 7 signs is already true for you? This is Power and Strategy, where old wisdom becomes modern strength, and where you stop being moved by the game and start moving it.